guys, and welcome to this first episode of my Computercraft tutorial series. In this series I'll be going through the basics of Computercraft and Lua in general. And to make this tutorial series a bit more exciting, I'll be doing a contraption every episode. So in this episode I'll be doing a password protected door. So let's just show that really fast. Be right back. Okay, so here's the door, and just access this computer and you write in the correct password and the doors will open and then they will close behind them. And if we type the wrong password, nothing happens, just get lost then. Yeah. So how do I do this? Well, I'll explain everything with this code, and instead of just showing you the code and going through bit by bit, I'm going through every piece of code that's needed for this to work and explain everything as we go. So, be right back. So, first off, how do I create a program? Well, if you write edit and then the name of your program, so let's just call it example. And this can be anything, just whatever you want to call your program. I just decided to call it example. And when you enter that, you will go to this screen, and this is basically a notepad, just really basic. And here you can write all your code and launch it all at once. So first you can see control to access menu. That just hit control and you can save and exit your program and print it. You won't go much into printing your program, that's not that important, but save and exit is. And if you press control again, it will go away. And second, down here you can see line number. So when you get an error, the error will tell you which line your error is on. So then you can just edit your code and go to that line, and you can find your problem much easier. But let's do some basic coding. Just if you do print and in quotes, you can write just anything from numbers to whatever. This is basically called a string. So hello YouTube. Oops. Then I can launch this program. Hello YouTube. So simple as that. Okay, so let's add some more to this. Edit example. With the print command you can also write just basic numbers, just without the quotes, and it will be a number. So if I do this example, and hello YouTube at 5. And the cool thing with numbers then is that you can add or subtract or anything with them that you can do with numbers. So 5 plus 5, and if I launch it again, hello YouTube and 10. So it adds them together. And another cool thing is that you can have two strings together. If you do this, just hello and how are you guys? Oops. Like this. An example. Hello YouTube, how are you guys? So this doesn't make much sense, obviously. You could just write this in the same string here. So why do this? Well, if I show you my next example here, if I use a new kind of command, so print hello, enter your name, and then I can type input equals read. And the first part there, input, that's just a variable name, so it can be anything you want. This is just for later use, so you have to call input to get what this is. So what read is basically a user input. When this will get called, the computer will wait for a user to write something and then press enter, and then it will continue. So whatever the user writes will get saved in input. So if I do print welcome and then input, so with this I can print and print welcome. Oops, I forgot the double dot. There, just like last example. So now I add two strings together because this will be a string, and or hopefully if the user writes his name and does as he's told, then this will work. Obviously, if the user will write a number, then this could fail. But let's just be a nice user and enter my name. Welcome, Sjonky. So with this you can write basic calculator or the contraption we're making today, the password protected door. So the password protected door isn't much different from this actually. You could just, instead of hello enter your name, you could just enter password. And then input equals read to save the input again. And then a new thing, the if statement. So if input equals and let's make the password YouTube. Then so this line is basically if input, or whatever the user inputs, or your variable name has to be here. So if what the user inputs equals to YouTube, then, and then what we want to happen if that's the case, welcome. And else print get lost and end. So with this it will check if the input is equal to YouTube, then print welcome. If it's not YouTube, then print get lost. And then you have to end the if statement with an end to tell the program basically when to end. So another thing you may have noticed that I did spaces here. This is not necessary. You could write everything like this, but I like to write it with spaces to make it much. It looks nicer when you read the code, and you'll understand it faster, and you can see like everything that happens when YouTube is the input is in here, and everything else is in there. So when I just have one thing happening, this doesn't make much sense. But if I do more things, it's easier to see what will happen when you input YouTube. So let's just test this out first. Enter password, YouTube, welcome. And if I do it again with wrong password, get lost. Oops. So let's edit again. As you saw now that let's just go out and do it again. YouTube. If you see here, you can now obviously see the password in clear text. So when another user comes in here and sees your computer, he will see what your password is. And we don't want that, so let's fix that. And to fix that, you can do in the read command here, write in quotes and a star and quotes. And what this will do is change whatever the user inputs with stars, or it looks like stars, but it's not. So YouTube and welcome. So now it's changed to stars. Another thing you may notice that is we still see the program name and all this stuff. So let's fix that as well, so it looks a bit more neat. And to do that, you have to write a new command, the term.clear. And what this does is basically clears the entire terminal window, so all the text is gone. You have to have this in front of your code. So if you have put term clear here, for example, then it would still be there and it will go clear after this. So let's just do it before your code. So another thing, set cursor pause. What this will do is move the cursor position up to this corner. Like the terminal is basically like an XY position, so this is 1 1 and then you have 2 1 and 1 2 and yeah. So when you do this, then when you clear the screen you will move the position up here. If you don't do this and you have more text you've written before you launch the program, then you will continue at that point. So we do this. And now you see everything is cleared and we move to the top corner. And I enter the password and welcome. Another thing we can do is after we've written the password, or enter password and we've written the password, we can clear this part because we don't need that anymore. So let's fix that as well. And to do that, we can write it down here. Term.clear and term.setCursorPos 1 1. Actually, I can show you what happens if you don't have this line now. And it should be visible. So, example, and YouTube. Here you see. Now the welcome got printed to this line, but this text is gone. So here we didn't move up here before next happened, so it printed it on the third line. You may also notice that I did this in front. What this does is basically comments out this part, so it won't happen. If you use this, you can write comments under things to make it easier to understand later. And if you get into more advanced programming, you will eventually understand why this is a really handy thing to do, because you write some code and when you get back to it later you don't understand anything of it. So by doing comments like this will clear the screen. Oops. Doing comments like this, you will instantly understand, okay, so this will clear the screen. Obviously this is very easy, so it's not really needed right here, but it's a good practice to do. So let's test this out now. Enter password and then YouTube. Welcome. Okay, so let's move into a bit more advanced stuff here, because we want to open the door, right? So how can we do this? Or how can we open the door now? So I'll build the contraption now, so be right back. Okay, so I've added a door to the setup now and went outside, so let's make this actually do something. At the moment, as you know, it only prints welcome or get lost, depending on what you're writing in. So as you may know, when you apply a redstone signal to a door, it will open. And with computers you can also send redstone signals. So if you write inside this bracket redstone.setOutput, and then the side we want to send the redstone signal to, which is left, because this is the left of the terminal. And then if you want to have an active signal or non-active signal, so true. And also, to make this a bit more short, you can, instead of writing redstone, just write rs, which is short for redstone. And if we run this now, the door will open, but it won't close, so let's fix that. And to fix that, we just do the same thing, but with false at the end. And at the moment it will open and close the door so fast you won't see it actually opens or do anything at all, probably. Oops. Now it closed it up. If I do it again, see, nothing happens. So to fix that, you have to add in sleep here. So to do that, you just type sleep and how many seconds you want it to sleep. So let's just do 3. So now it will turn on the signal, wait 3 seconds, and then turn off the signal. Like so. So now let's make this program run forever. Like at the moment you have to write the program name all the time and then the password, and yeah, and then it won't reset itself. So let's do that now. To do that, we just add a symbol loop, and in this case we'll use the while loop. And the while loop is kind of like the if statement, or not like it, but you have to have an end where you want the while loop to end. So we want this entire code to run forever, so that's why I added an end to the end. And while true will basically always run because it's always true, so this way this code always runs. So let's try this out, and there it resets itself. So now it works very nice. And one thing to note about, oops, that's wrong. One thing to note about the while loop is that you have to be, or you shouldn't use it everywhere, not especially this one, because this will never end. So if you don't have anything that the computer can rest on, your computer will crash. And in this example we have this input equals read, which will wait for the user inputs, so it can't crash. Another thing we can do is make this program a startup, so whenever, or if you're on the server and stuff and the computer will or the server restarts, then when you get back it will go here and people can go into your base and stuff. So to do that we edit startup. This is basically, or if you have this name on your program will launch when the computer starts. So shell.run example, and this is a command to run a program. So now the startup will run the example when it starts. So if I now restart the computer, it will instantly start with this program. So that's basically it. That's how you create a password protected door. So now let's go over to this one, which we saw early in this episode. And how did I do this? This is basically exactly the same as that door over there. It just sends a redstone signal down under here. You can see it's a jacketed wire going under here and up to the pistons. So if I go out of this and edit, I believe I call this password instead. Yeah, it's basically exactly the same code as you've seen before, except I tell it that the redstone signal should be on by default because I want this to be extended and close the gap. And everything else is basically the same. So now you know how to make a password protected door and exactly what all the code means. So if you like this video and want to see more, please subscribe and like. And thanks for watching.